Hi there, season's greetings. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Today is Christmas Eve day here, and I will be combining our usual word of the day class together with our live question and answer class. So you can ask questions at any time during this class by typing your questions in the chat. I'll answer them for you live. Normally we meet about 4 hours later than this on Fridays, but as it is a holiday today, I'm going to be spending that time preparing for our family celebrations. And to share with you, I wanted to start with some phrases. This was a request from one of my Instagram followers about when to use Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays versus Season's Greetings. So we'll talk about these three phrases, a little bit of information about pronunciation, and mostly about which to choose and which to use and how Americans use these. And so first of all, talking about the phrase Merry Christmas, I do have a specific video just for how to pronounce Christmas. So if that's something that's challenging for you, you can check that out. I also have a video for the word Merry and how we have this kind of Merry that we use for Merry Christmas. We also have Mary the name and Mary as in getting married. For me, all three of those are the air diphthong. Some people will say this one more as an ah, like marry. That tends to be more of a New York pronunciation. And this one, most people will say marry. These are words that used to have distinct pronunciations. That's why they have different spellings. And now they've kind of merged all together into more of a Merry Christmas. You might see that in the IPA with this red tent and R vowel. They use that to represent air. In my feeling, that's a little confusing because that would sound more like air. And I think we do a brighter, kind of more of an air vowel in that. And then just watch out in Merry Christmas that the E is a nice tense E. In Christmas, the CH says the K sound, the K sound. Just like in my name, Christine, I spell my name with a CHRIST, like the word Christmas. And this letter letter I is the I vowel. Make sure it's not too E. You don't want Merry Christmas, but rather Christmas in American English. And then even though we have an A here in the end part of Christmas, we have more of an sound. Or you might even think about it as having pretty much no vowel, going from your to your miss. You can think about it being kind of an or an I. You'll see that also Christmas, we really don't say that T. We don't say Christmas. So the T is silent, the H is silent, and the A is more of an or an I sound. First syllable stress in Christmas. When to use Merry Christmas? Typically, excuse me, people say this right close to the holiday Christmas Day, which is the 25th of December. It's used by people who celebrate Christmas, talking with other people who celebrate Christmas, or if you know someone celebrates that holiday, you can say it whether or not you celebrate Christmas itself. Christmas in the US is a mixed holiday in that it is somewhat of a secular holiday as well. So there are Christians, religious groups that celebrate Christmas. And then there's many people in the US that culturally celebrate this as a holiday without necessarily believing in the Christian traditions for the holiday. So I would say it's a US holiday that starts out from the Christian tradition, but it is actually much more of a commercial holiday in the US. So businesses are closed. People exchange gifts. They have trees. There's a lot of traditions around Christmas that really have nothing to do with the story of Christmas from the Christian religion. So that's partly why it's used even by people who don't celebrate or even by people who aren't Christian. And it's okay and pretty neutral to say Merry Christmas, but because many people don't celebrate it as well, and also people want to be sensitive that maybe this isn't a holiday that people celebrate, or that this season, this sort of December 25th through New Year's Day time, is considered a holiday season. And so people will say happy holidays as well. And that kind of incorporates everything that's going on this time of year, celebrating that. And it acknowledges, if I say happy holidays, I'm not necessarily assuming that you are Christian or that you celebrate Christmas. So that's a more neutral and safe way to kind of acknowledge and say happy holidays to people. Perhaps someone that you're not as close to, you don't know about what they celebrate or don't. This is something that people might use at work. I tend to use happy holidays or season's greetings for that purpose. And I think it's, some people are very partial to one or the other, but that's where these other two phrases arise from. And when you say happy holidays, you're kind of acknowledging we're reaching the end of the year, the New Year's is coming, and you can use it in a broader time range. Whereas Merry Christmas, you maybe are going to say that on Christmas Day or just before. You're not going to say it after, probably, unless, again, Christmas is a very important holiday to you or the other person that you're talking with. So I do have a recently covered talking about happy holidays on Thanksgiving, and people say that all the way through Thanksgiving, all the way through New Year's. But typically we don't say happy holidays too much outside of that time, except, again, if you have another religion that is having holiday season. So if you're celebrating Ramadan or Hanukkah or Rosh Hashanah or lots of other holidays throughout the year, then people might say happy holidays, again, knowing that someone is celebrating a holiday time. Season's greetings. I would say people don't use this in spoken speech quite as much as they might in written. So you might be in an email or a text or a holiday card, you might be writing season's greetings. And that, again, is sort of celebrating the holiday season. These two are fairly similar, except that I would say for happy holidays, people would maybe say this. And for season's greetings, they might be more likely to write it. People might say season's greetings as well. So it's not like you can't say that, but I would say just between the two, that tends to be how that works. When I'm saying season's greetings, watch out for the S's are Z sounds. The EA and EEE are both the tense E sound. And this S is also a Z sound. So reason, season, you want to make sure that you're using your voice, not season, but season or seasons. And in greetings, we have a flap T. It sounds a little more like a D sound. So I would rewrite that maybe as seasons, greetings. Greetings is sort of looks a little bit like greedy, so a little bit unfriendly, but the idea is that flap T is a little bit more like a D. Okay, so I won't go into detail on happy holidays because I can refer you to my other video on that. After class, I'll put some links to related videos that might be useful for you in the comments in the description for this video, so you can go and follow that. Not only for these words, but also for the things we discuss now in the question and answer time. So do feel free to ask your questions at any time. I probably said that at the beginning, but you can write them in the chat and I'll answer them for you. Normally, we do the question and answer class live at 12 o'clock Seattle time, 3 o'clock Eastern time each Friday. Today, I personally am celebrating this evening a holiday, Christmas Eve, but also in our family, we call it Vigilia because we have some Polish background. And so this is a concept that even though it comes from a tradition from Poland and from, I think, Catholic Christians who celebrated Christmas Eve in Poland, and I don't have that religion or that background, it's still a holiday tradition that we celebrate. And so that's an appropriate place where someone could say happy holidays to me, and I would be celebrating in my own way, my own adaptation of tradition. So, we have religious tradition, and then we have family, and when families come together, they merge family traditions. So again, that's part of why things like happy holidays and season's greetings are always appropriate to say. With the one exception being there may be some people who don't celebrate anything during this time of year and might not want to be um, wished happy holidays when they're not celebrating and they're working or whatever else. But I think generally it's fairly neutral and friendly to say. Okay. So at any rate, I'll be back. Next Friday is also a holiday. It's Christmas, New Year's Eve day. So unfortunately, this time around, our Fridays are not the best time. I haven't yet decided if we'll be having class on New Year's Eve day, but you can check back in the channel to find out. And I will post some information on that on our channel page and on our community page on the channel. Okay. The question so far is happy holidays an expression for the specific Christmas holiday, or can we use it for any vacation? So you wouldn't use happy holidays in the US for a vacation. That's another good point, though. I'm glad you asked. So in the US, a holiday is a day we're celebrating. So in the US, it's a day or days of celebration. So I can say that for a time period where people are celebrating holidays. In British English, a holiday is a vacation. So in the US, we say, I'm going on vacation. In Britain, they say, I'm going on holiday, or we're having holidays in Greece, etc. We don't say that in the US. We say vacation for taking a break from work. And we just reserve holiday for a celebration associated with a holiday, either from our religion or a US holiday. So the US holidays like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Christmas is a federal holiday in the US. So yeah, good question. So we wouldn't say happy holidays to someone who is going on vacation. You would say enjoy your vacation, have a nice trip, enjoy your time off. Yes. So US, we say vacation. In Britain, they say holiday for vacation, in case that visual is not clear. Good question. Thank you. Any other questions from those of you who are here live? A little bit of a smaller group today because this isn't our usual time. My thoughts were that at this time, it might be better for some other people as well who might be preparing for their holiday celebrations around their home. Let's talk about some other topics. What I'll do is cover a couple of words that have come in. So I have a long list of requests from our Word of the Day series. And some of you have been asking, when am I going to get to your word? And I did just recently check. So I'm working on requests that came in about 3 or more months ago now, just because there's been so many wonderful requests and I want to take time to cover everybody's questions and requests. So I apologize for the delay between the time that you ask and the time that I can cover your word in a Word of the Day series. But we do have these live classes. So if you have an urgent need, you can come on Fridays and ask. Also, we have a Sunday class that's for channel members. So one of the perks of joining as a channel member is that you can get a response to your question within a week. I'll cover that for you each Sunday. Even if you can't attend that live class, you can come and watch the replay and I'll have covered your word. Okay, so one of the requests recently was for the word professor. So let's look at the word professor. This is a good one because we have a couple of patterns here that are typically problematic because of spelling. First of all, the prefix pro doesn't say pro in this word. It does in some other words like produce or program, but it's not stressed. So in professor, the fess syllable is stressed, which means my O is going to sound more like an pra. You'll see in the IPA that there's a schwa, and then you'll see this mark showing that the syllable stress is on the fess. That E says the as in red tent. Double S typically says the S sound and not the Z sound, even though letter S can go either way. And then because the OR is not stressed, it also will be not an or, just like we have not pro, we have not or, we have an sound there. So thinking about that like professor is how I would rewrite professor. So I do have a video for when to know whether OR says or, and I do have a video and a lesson about words beginning with PRO. They can say pro, pra, or pra in American English, and it can be a little confusing to know which is which. So you can check those out. I'll put the links for them in the description for the video and in a comment for you after class. Thank you for your support and appreciation. I do appreciate that as well. Let's check for something else we could cover. Okay, so we had a request for radio and radiology. So radio and radiology also have a good, these are a good example of where syllable stress affects the vowel sounds. So in radio, we have first syllable stress. Letter A says the A diphthong. It's going to be long. And what people often have trouble with is if they're saying a word like radio or ray, usually that A is a little easier for them to do. If they're saying a word like name or change, what I tend to hear there is that people will just use eh. And to an American, it'll sound more like eh. It'll sound like you're saying change or nem, because we don't have this eh by itself in American English. We have the diphthong a. So if you think about holding that longer, radio, you're going to be more easily understood rather than using just the single radio. It doesn't have quite the same sound. First syllable stress, and then we have letter I says E, and letter O, another diphthong in American English. So you don't want radio, but radio. Oh, you're going to relax. You're going to close and relax the jaw in that O diphthong. So re, D, O. Working on holding both those a little bit longer. I did just create a new short for panettone, which is in Italian and American English, and I talk a little bit about the diphthongs there. It's pretty not. The letter I does say E in some American English words, but radio is a little bit of an exception. And then when we get to radiology, the vowels don't change in this one, except that this letter O does change, radiology. That's because in this case, in radio, it's not stressed. In radiology, that's the stressed syllable. So we see, again, R-A, R-E, and then the O changes to an ah, and then this O is going to be a schwa, unstressed, radiology, and that letter J is going to say the J sound. So in that case, it would sound like radiology. So radio versus radiology. Yeah, so that was a word of the day request that came in a few months ago, and I'll cover a couple more. Do feel free, if you're watching live, you can ask questions about our topic that we've covered so far, words that you struggle with, sounds or patterns, whatever it would be helpful for you. Okay, we have a question about the word synonym. So synonym. So synonyms are words that have the same meaning, like, well, you know what synonyms are. Synonym has first syllable stress, so that means the sin is long, then the nim are short. Letter Y says the I sound in synonym. So you can think about if rewriting it like sin, or think about a word like thin or fin to be, or just in. So thinking about in synonyms. The letter O, here's an example of unstressed syllable where O is going to say the schwa, the sound. And then we have another I sound for the second Y. This one is longer, this one is shorter. So you want synonym. You want to be kind of faster on that second I vowel, synonym, synonym. If that's challenging, go slowly. Synonym, synonym, synonym. I think it's mostly tough because of the spelling is so unusual, and then also kind of going back and forth between those N and M sounds might be a little challenging. So hopefully that helps you out. If there's something more you want to know about synonym, let me know in a follow-up comment. Thanks for that request. Okay, we have a request for the word dissemination. That's a good one. So dissemination. So words that end in ation, ation, that's one of the few extremely consistent patterns in American English for pronunciation and intonation, in that we always stress that A syllable. So intonation, communication, dissemination, that A is always going to be long. And it's that long A diphthong that I was talking about in just a few words ago in radio, where you want to make sure that you have that A and hold that a long time. So usually I write that kind of with an AY. It's usually spelled with AY or AI or just A by itself, like in Asian words. And when you have a word that's not stressed at the beginning, it can be helpful to start on the stressed syllable. So in this case, I would just say nation, semination, dissemination. Kind of build up that rhythm that helps you really get the vowel pattern and the length of each syllable in your mind a little bit more. So dissemination, this letter I is going to be an unstressed I sound. You can almost think about it like a schwa, like dissemination, but you don't really want to go dissemination. I would think maybe an I is easier to think of. So dissem. This E is going to be just like the E in them, or red, but them might help you think of it because it's similar to sem, right? Dissem. Didn't leave myself enough room. Dissem. Another I sound, another unstressed syllable here. And then there's my stressed syllable, nay or a, disseminate. You might see the disseminate. You might see the syllable stress marker either place. I'm going to put it before the end. Dissemination. And then my tion ending is just my sh sound with a syllabic n. So very little vowel there at all. Dissemination. If I had to write, excuse me, any vowel there, I would write it as a little schwa. For syllabic n, we're just moving quickly from the sh to the n, shin, and you can have a little bit of a schwa or a little bit of an unstressed I sound. You notice as well here that I wrote this one as an even though it's an I here, dissemination. I'm probably going to use an I sound in both places, but the idea is that those are really short, reduced vowels. And so you can usually range between the higher I and the more central you just want to be really short and not have a clear vowel there. So dissemination. And here again, that one's very, very short, very little vowel. Going slowly, dissemination. Okay, that might have been more than you bargained for, a pretty long explanation. But I think that with longer words with multiple syllables, it's really good to know what's going on with those different vowel sounds and the rhythm and the speed. And those reduced vowels like I and can be kind of tough to feel natural saying, especially if you have a native language that tends to have, an E for letter I and A for letter A. You're used to using clear vowels. Getting used to those unstressed vowels can be what makes longer words like this more difficult. Okay, thanks for that request. Great word to cover today. I see there's a few other questions and comments. So nice to see so many of you. Season's greetings to everyone from all around. Do feel free to ask your questions. I'm going to cover a few more of the recent requests, and then we'll wrap up for today. I'll be back. I will be having Word of the Day classes for the next few days, even through the holidays. Those won't be live, but we'll be back live again in future Friday and Sunday classes as well. Okay. Another request we had was for the word annihilation. So that's actually another example of our ation stress. So annihilation. Challenge there for me is making sure I spell it correctly, which sometimes I don't. And I always hate that when I go back, especially in a live class, because I can't correct it. But my apologies for that happening sometimes. So annihilation, stress on the A. This one, the annihilation, there's a couple of different options. So typically in American speech, we're not going to really say that H sound. It's going to get dropped. So our letter A at the start, when it's not stressed, doesn't usually say an ah or an ah, any sort of A-like vowel. It just says a schwa. So it sounds like an I. So this will have some secondary stress, a little bit of length and a clear vowel on that ni syllable. Letter I does say the I diphthong. So I'll write it this way: ani, like night, ani, and then annihilation, no H, basically, anaya. So this is going to have an I sound or a schwa, anaya, stress on the lay, and then again, there's our shun ending with very little vowel. So ani, main stress on lay, shun, annihilation. Notice in annihilation, when I'm moving from the I to the I end up with a little bit of a glide in there. So thinking about that annihilation, when I'm moving from that I that's more open and forward to the that's more central, I end up with a kind of gliding sound. I don't have to put it in strongly, not annihilation, but it should happen naturally as I move between the vowels. That's called vowel to vowel linking. It happens a couple of different ways. After class, I'll put a video or a link to a video about vowel to vowel linking in a lesson you can check out for more details on that. So annihilation. A little stress here, but not the main stress. I'll make it shorter. Annihilation. Okay, so another interesting request. Thank you. Okay, I'll take a couple more and then we'll need to wrap up for today. We have a question about pulchritude and pulchritudinous. I'm pretty sure it's pulchritude. Let me just check, double check in the dictionary. So I do always recommend, I verify things in the dictionary all the time. And what I'll say is my favorite online dictionary is the Oxford Learner's Dictionary because it'll show you British English and American English. If you go to speechmodification.com and you use the search tools, type in dictionary, you'll see a lesson about how to read the dictionary and links for this dictionary. So for pulchritudinous, let's look up pulchritude first. We have, yes, like I was thinking about, pulchritude. So that CH is a K sound, just like in Christmas or in my name, Christine. So I'll write it out for you so you don't have to look at it tiny on the phone. But looking at Pulchritude, and it means beauty. Interesting. So I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the definition. I thought it was the opposite. So I don't know. I guess to me, pulchritude sounds kind of like decrepitation or decrepit or something. Anyway, pulchritude, beauty. Who knew? Maybe you did, the person who's asking. Okay, so first syllable stress, pul. We have a schwa, sounds like so pulchri, this letter I is the same kind of like in Christmas, or is, pulchritude, and then that oo is a clear oo sound. So that would sound like pull. So I'm going to write that with a UH. If I write ULL, you'll think of pull, which is an vowel, and here it's pull. So that's kind of one unusual thing, that we don't really have the sound so much, or pull. It's not a very common combination. So pulchritude, and then when we change it to pulchritudinous, no E there, then we would have two, you can kind of think of that, pulchritudinous. That'll change the stress to the here before the two. So then that would be pulchritudinous or dinness. Yeah, pulchritudinous, which I guess would probably mean beautiful if pulchritude means beauty. Great word. Thank you. Or words. You may have asked me that. I feel like somebody asked me that recently in a comment. So if you did, you got your word of the day request in early, which is, as I mentioned, a great idea. If you can attend live on Fridays, then I can cover your word right away. If you leave a request, it'll take a little while for me to get to it. But the advantage there is that when I make a word of the day video, it's a longer video just on your word. So I may touch on a few more details that I don't always get to in this class. In these classes, I try to think of everything that would be useful for you. In those, I have a little more time to consider your word and look it up in the dictionary, not live for you. Although I do think it's not a bad thing for me to show you what resources I use. I will also often look up a word in several different dictionaries to see they may have some different variations on it, because there are more than one correct way. There can be more than one correct way to pronounce a word in American English. Can help me to see the British pronunciation versus the American pronunciation, and also to look at different interpretations of how to write up that word. Okay, so for the last request for today, we're going to take the word precision. So we have precision. I do have a word of the day video about the word decision, similar to precision. And these precision and decision are very challenging for people because they have that scission combination. They're also stressed on the si syllable, and the C and the S don't give you a big clue for what sounds should be here. So let's talk about this one. In precision, the PRE is going to be probably written in the dictionary with an I. Excuse me. You could also think about it being an sound, like pr. You just want to have a really reduced vowel there. Sorry, frog in the throat. So pri or pra. Just don't use a pre. It's not pre, but rather a reduced vowel. So pra si. Stress on the si. So we have a clear I here that's longer. Letter C says the S sound. And then in this word, the jeune, this letter S says a j sound, like we have in words like measure. And I write that usually as a ZH. If you think about it as a sh, SH sound, but then your voice is on, so saying sh, have the mouth position that you would have for she or sugar, and then just turn your voice on. Zh, zh. So we don't have a consistent way of spelling the zh sound. I guess S is usually our best way. So precision. And then we're going to have basically very little vowel here as well. If anything, a little schwa. We have another one of our syllabic end sounds there. So precision. It's not easy. Precision. Again, I would maybe start with your si syllable, precision, precision, to help you get the rhythm, and then just focus in on that s and j combo. You can also use a word like decision if that's easier for you. But if you have trouble with precision, decision probably gives you the same trouble. Thanks so much for that request. It's a great one. We have a request about making a video for the best method for improving an accent. So this is just something where I think my method, the SMART American accent training, is the best. If you check out speechmodification.com, you can see my free online courses, and that will walk you through step by step, really the best method for changing your accent. I also have free practice materials on the website. So go to our courses page, check out our free mini course. It's going to walk you through some of the things to get started. And if you like it and you're interested, all of my courses are $2 or less. So it's a great resource for building the American accent, giving you kind of both that foundation that you need to really change your speech and a lot of tips and tricks for how to make all of those pieces come together. So it's not a simple process, but there's a lot of simple things that you can be doing. You just have to have patience and work your way through learning about your accent patterns, learning how to change them, and also getting kind of more that global ear for being able to change your accent for listening as well. Because unfortunately, our accent is not just our speech. Our brain has our native language sound system, and when English comes in, it goes through this filter of your native language sound system. So it can affect how you can hear differences too. And once you become aware of some of those differences and you can know what you're listening for, all of a sudden things will change and you'll be hearing English differently as well. Good example of that, words like live versus leave, or this versus these, being able to hear those differences in the vowel sounds, it can be very challenging for people. Or for example, ear versus year. Some people can't really hear that, and until you can hear the difference and understand what's happening there, know about what's happening in your mouth, the physical mechanics of it, you need all of those pieces to be able to make the change. So that's stuff that I cover in my online courses, and I highly recommend those for walking through and learning about the best way to change your accent. Okay. Yes, you can. We had a question about a link to another video that you recently watched. Yeah, you can put that in a comment for this video and I'll check it out. YouTube typically will block links in the comments, but I can see them, and then I can approve your comment, or I can just respond to you if it's something that I don't want to have in the comments for my videos. So if you've noticed when you're leaving a comment on a video that your comment doesn't show up, it may be because you have a link to another video, and YouTube is careful about those because sometimes those can be spam. But I know for you guys, it's something that you've seen and you want my feedback on, and I don't mind looking at those. Okay. Great. Okay, so thank you so much for attending class today at our earlier time than usual. Happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate. Season's greetings for the season. If you're just joining me now, I'm referring back to the beginning of class where I talked about those phrases and when to use which. I hope that if you are celebrating, you have a wonderful time. You have the opportunity to get together with family and friends safely. And I look forward to seeing you again back in our regular class, either next Friday or the following Friday. I haven't yet decided about New Year's Eve day, whether or not we'll be having class. Maybe we'll do another early morning class, my time, like we did today. Thank you so much, those of you who have subscribed to the channel, and a special shout out thank you to our channel members. Channel members will have some Sunday classes coming up, so do watch the community page for when those are happening, and feel free to ask your requests at any time. I collect those and I'll cover them for you each week. If you haven't yet subscribed and you liked this class, you might want to do that, and then you'll see my content as you're browsing through YouTube. You can also turn on notifications if it's helpful for you, and they'll let you know when I'm live and when I've uploaded a new video. You can click the join button and learn about channel membership and how to support the channel if that's of interest to you. Also, do check out all of our resources on my website, speechmodification.com. There's a full practice area that's free, as well as some online courses which are free or available for under $2. Thanks for being a part of class today and for your wonderful requests and suggestions. If you're watching as a replay, you can put your requests in the comments and I'll get back to you with answers and resources for you as well. Happy holidays and thanks for being here. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.